So that is, good grief, I'm going fast. So this is another view of 2046's robot. I would like to point out that you got twice as many shots. No, you got the same number of shots.
It would help to take the cap off.
Yeah, the caps.
Oh, it's coming. That's okay.
I was trying to.
Okay, so telescoping things. So in the front, there's a bunch of manuals for something called 20 or 80/40 or 80/20 Bosch. One of the things that is in here is it allows you to telescope things and create slides of moving parts. So here we have a bunch of sort of what am I trying to say? A bunch of, Kevin wanders in.
I'm sorry, Jim. You
You
got a bunch of stuff.
I'm blaming it on Kevin.
It's a doohickey.
Yes, and I'm also trying to stall because I'm running out of slides. But we can talk about other things later. So basically, there's 3 parts to this telescoping apparatus. What's going to happen is this, let's see here, which way does it go? This bar is going to remain motionless. This one is going to go up, and then this one is going to go up. So what they've done on this robot, which is kind of difficult to see, is they've looped the chain over, and when the chain comes down, it's looped again. It goes back up, loops over the middle one, goes back down, up to this point here. So there's a continuous stream of chain going all the way around, connected to this piece here. That piece slides up and down. So when the chain, when you make the chain flow, this will hit the top of this bar, and it won't have anywhere to go, which will then start forcing this link of chain to move the first part up. Am I, okay, good. Explaining your robot correctly. So when this bar hits a stop right here, it also forces this chain to start tensioning, and the second chain will lift both of these up until the entire thing has extended to whatever length you want. So a lot of teams, you could actually see this, unfortunately, in the Wilson view. If, after the Wilson view people get done with their robot, they too have a telescoping arm, but they have individual strands of chain. So their chain, when I used to think of these telescoping arms, I used to think a big spool of chain at the bottom being cranked up, pushing this up. It's only until I actually looked at their robot that there isn't a big spool of chain, it's just one continuous strand of chain.
And so that probably has the advantage that not only does it power up, it probably powers down as well. Is that the case?
Yes.
So if I may throw in, one of the first robots that we did in 1999 used a winch system with a cable that used us, and it spooled the cable up on the way up. We used the Barbie motors, for those of you who know that. And I promised to never ever do that again because we let gravity feed it down, and we were forever getting all of that, that big winch spool of cable messed up. Because if somebody came and lifted up on our mechanism, the cable went slack and it kind of unspooled like a rat's nest. So I really like the notion of using a continuous loop. It keeps the tension on the cable or the chain constant, and it also allows you to power up and power down. I've found that letting gravity do its thing doesn't always work, especially like when your robot's flat on its back. Gravity doesn't work so good. Plus when you're allowing gravity to drop something, if the other robot's in the way, If the other robot is in the way, it almost always messes up your mechanism, so
Yeah.
I like the loop.
Yeah. The thing that you have to worry about in this mechanism is that when you get the two sides out as far as you have to worry about how much force laterally or horizontally you're going to put on this, because there's a point where if you could jam these mechanisms. If you don't have enough sort of plating out here to make sure that these two pivots here, or the pieces that are going to slide, are far enough apart in order to make the whole thing stable. So what I'm trying to say in English is that if we brought these two parts in closer, then the whole thing starts wobbling too much. And if it wobbles and you try to bring it down, it might jam because there's just not enough space out here to keep the two pivot points apart. So one of the things is to keep it apart, sort of, I don't know what the dimensions here, but that's one thing that you have to remember.
Kind of like an extension ladder.
Yes, very much like a extension ladder.
When you get
And
an
if the Skunk Works had given me a picture, we would have a picture of an extension ladder. Go for it.
It's actually just one big slider.
Okay.
Delta or whatever, just that really high density plastic, so it slides.
Okay, so, yeah, that's, all these people who I'm showing their robots, who have designed these robots. So on the other side of that plate, there's a Delrin, sort of a piece of
Yeah, just
plastic.
a Delta slider.
Okay. So that is the slider, and you're going to see this over and over again, because anything that needs to go up, here's something, it's fairly quick and easy. You can get the materials out of this catalog sitting on the front desk, by the way. So that is that telescoping. More telescoping. What? Go for it.
Kind of offer Jim is that the ladder like that is
Yeah.
really useful. If all you have to do is just pick something up and
Yeah.
put it down. You don't need to move it somewhere, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
really useful for that kind of a thing.
So, okay. This robot is also here. It is the 1778, which I don't see there in the room, so we can talk about them behind their back. They only have one section of telescoping, but they telescope up at an angle. I thought when I was putting this talk together, I thought their mechanism was a little bit more different than 2046's, but it's not too much, with the exception of their slider. I think their slider is on wheels touching the outside of the tubing instead of all sort of horizontally, as we saw before. So this is just one section. They use rope. I think they use rope. I know 488 used rope last time. Let me stop and talk a little bit about climbing rope. 949, a couple years ago, decided that we were going to go to the Home Depot and buy and pick up some of their metal wire. They have a bunch of metal wire over there. Their metal wire needs a bunch of crimps. So you crimp something onto this metal wire and it becomes a heavy-duty sort of metal wire. We needed just a small piece of that, and we had a devil of a time with the metal wire because we couldn't get the crimps right. We were doing it with pliers. We were crimping things with pliers. It just was a big mess. Half the time on the field, that mechanism gave way, and we would fall apart on the field, which we weren't planning on doing. Fortunately, I had a wrestler as a driver who just plowed through everything. So that was, I apologize to anyone that my wrestler driver plowed through